Hi there, it's Tina at Tina Stitches. Welcome to my channel. This is a Flosstube channel, a community on YouTube that films blogs about cross stitch. If that's what you're here for, welcome. If not, maybe you'll find something you like and you'll take up a new hobby. I have my dog here with me, Teresa, who is all over everything right now. She wants to go look out the window, but we don't want the window open because it's causing a lot of bad lighting. She's much like a cat that way. When we first got her, she was sitting on the back of a sofa looking out the window. Yeah. Saw me pulling up in the driveway, didn't ya? Okay, so as you can see, she's doing good considering her fairly recent diagnosis of rheumatoid arthritis. But we're going to put her on the floor because we don't want her to fall. No, we don't. Yeah. And my other dog, Gidget, is outside with Daddy playing ball, getting a fridge prepared to bring inside. So, for those of you who have been here before, thank you for coming back. Welcome to anybody who's new. Yeah, if you like what you see, subscribe. Hit the little bell so you get all those notifications and all that stuff. I'm in a new location. This is where I haven't been able to get to for the last year and a half. This is my craft room, which had become a place for random people to crash. So we got rid of the bed. Actually, my son has been living here for just over a year because his house wasn't suitable for occupancy yet, and now it is. So he's over there, and so I got my room back. It's a mess. I tidied up this corner specifically so that I could do my Flosstube, but I will take a video at the end of this to show you the chaos that surrounds me. I don't have a table in here either to put my stuff on, but the floors are clean. I made sure I washed that first thing as soon as I got him out of here. His bed's out. I washed this floor so that I could do this. And yeah, so here we are. It is Sunday, June the 12th. It's 1:30 in the afternoon. That's not my usual filming time, so I don't know if we're going to hear any trains today. Sorry. I also don't have the window open, and the trains come from the opposite side of the house. Yeah, so I don't know if train background noise is going to be a thing anymore. Let me know. If you hear a train, great. If you don't want to hear a train, great. So it's been a week since my last video, and as you now know, I've been busy the last couple of days moving into here, so I don't have a whole lot of stitching to show you. I do have the regular decent amount of progress on Beloved by Heaven and Earth Designs. And, you know, so I don't forget it, I might as well just show it now and get it out of the way. So this is Beloved, artwork by Adele Sessler, charted by Heaven and Earth Designs. I will put a picture of where it was last time you saw it here. And here it is now. And this is going to be a very shaky shot because I don't have a table. And yeah. Okay. So I've been working all across here. Yeah, her hair is finished. And I'm filling in from this direction over. And it's really coming along quickly. I didn't get any more than my usual 1400 stitches this week. I think I just got that, but we are on track. So this is where it is now. It's looking great. I'm into a huge chunk of black here, so that's about 300 more stitches to the bottom of that of black to do. And then on to the next color, and then the next color. Yeah, I think for now I am just going to work my way across. Generally I pick the highest color, and if it starts at the bottom, I will start at the bottom and work it up and then fill in that way. But yeah. So, Beloved by Adele Sessler, Heaven and Earth Designs. And now I have to find a place to put it where it won't fall over. And I have a dog right there. So hopefully doesn't fall on her. So I didn't even make any notes. I meant to make notes, but I've been up and down the stairs so many times, and I went to make notes. I don't have a pencil. I'm not going down the stairs one more time for a pencil. So we're winging it. Let me just open up my planner and go from there. So the next project that I worked on, I've pulled out because of Magazine Monthly Challenge Group. Monthly Magazine Challenge Group. Magazine Monthly. I can't remember how it goes. This is Les Belles Lettres de Gigi tea. And it doesn't matter that there's glare on it because you really can't make out what it is anyways. So, here's where it was when you last saw it. Dropping stuff. And here it is now. See, I have my cardboard here now. Okay. Here it is now. So I've worked on the owl and the girl with the vines with the birds on the top. Not exactly sure what they're supposed to be, but I made a boo-boo. I stitched this one, and then I did part of her body, and then I came over to do this one, and I had miscounted on the neck of this one, and I corrected this one. I'm not going to correct the other one. They're birds, they have different necks. So that's where it is. And there's really nothing counted off of this bird anyways, so leaving it is not going to affect any of the future progress. This is a 35 count Edinburgh linen that I dyed myself. I nickname it the Sexy Sampler. So that's where that one's at. And I have to put it back in the bag. Project bag I made myself. Let's find a space to put it. Okay. Now, next one I'm going to show you is one that I worked on for just a few minutes yesterday as I was testing out my new stitching corner here. So I thought, well, what do I have that I can just pull out and stitch that's already on a Q-snap and whatever and whatever. And I had this one up here. So I pulled it out, and you're gonna see a lot of threads in the way. This one I haven't worked on for quite a while. I've put it down as projects to do for monthly magazine challenge group. That's a group on Facebook run by Carolyn Zook and Robin Hall, and the aim is to get work on projects that are mainly from magazines, because we have so many magazines in our stash. If you were to look to the side here, you would see I have a bookcase thing, and it's half full of magazines. So I really need to work on some of these magazine projects. But this one I started, I'm not sure when. It is stitched on 28 count off-white Lugana. It's an even weave anyways, it's off-white, and this is English Garden Welcome by Teresa Wentzler. So I just put in, when I do blends, just show you quickly, I have all of my threads pre-cut to a certain length. When I do a blend, I take one strand of each, thread my needle, and then I come down in the stitch where that color is and come up about leaving half of the thread over here parked, and then I stitch over this way and then come back, you know, till I run out, and then I will end that thread, and then I will come over here, pick up the parked end and work it as far as I can. That way I'm not left with having to put blended threads away, because I just use up both, like the whole length of it. And Teresa Wentzler's designs, there's a lot of blended threads, but they're not a lot of ninja stitches. It's usually a length, like you can use up the whole length of thread for the whole project, or you know, throughout the project, wherever you have that color, there's a good chunk of it, in my experience. And I've finished I think 3. I finished Peacock Tapestry, Lady of Shalott, Dragon Rider. Yeah, I'll have to pull them out one day. They're in here somewhere. 2 of them are in the bin of shame. Dragon Rider must be in the closet in a box of framed, but not out. So, anyways, this was from a Just Cross Stitch magazine, and I have it right here so I can show you. It is the June 1999 issue. And I'm trying to find the cover. And there's the cover. So, you want to see what it's supposed to look like, I suppose. That is the finished design. So yeah, I do have quite a bit to do. I am doing all of the border and all of the over 1 lettering as well. So that I'm going to move over there. Okay. Next in the stack of things to show you, works in progress, whips. This is Owl Forest Embroidery, Alice in Wonderland freebie sal that was released last year in about April, I believe. It was released every 2 weeks. There was a new part of the sampler available on the website. I started it when it was released, stitching it on 32 count raw Belfast linen that I had in my stash, and I'm stitching it with overdyed threads that I had in my stash. I converted it from the DMC equivalents that they had posted with with the chart, and so these are the colors. A lot of them I had to order extra. If you've been following me, you've been around for that journey. And I am at the point where I have to consider ordering another color. This is a project that I would like to stitch on in the sunroom, which it has been nice this week. So I did get out there a couple of days. Yesterday, I couldn't go out there because there was a bed unassembled and in the porch, in the sunroom, ready to be removed. So I didn't get out there that day. But here's where we're at. So I'm ready to move the Q-snap because I'm finished with all of this part, all of this, except for the teapot, which is the color that I may have to order or blend it with DMC so that to extend it. But yeah, so I just have to, well, I have to move the Q-snap. Let's take it off the Q-snap and see where we're gonna go next. So the teapot will be left until I get the thread, which is what has been happening throughout this project. Because it does eat up a lot of thread. I am stitching at 2/2. Which is what it's called for. I don't know if the accessory pack that you can buy from Owl Forest has lots of thread. I would hope that they would, you know, give you enough to do the whole thing. So, what do I have left? Let's see. These are all done. So I know at one point I had run out of the purple or the brown for the house here, but the house is finished. And that's where I was working this time, so I need to get the teapot finished. This is finished. There is the queen to go here. This is finished. This is finished. I did have to buy thread for Absalom, but he's finished now. I have to make up my mind about the footmen, because in the book they are fish footmen. The Duchess is finished, the wash lady's finished, the pig is finished, Cheshire Cat. So this house here needs to be finished, and there's a plant in the corner here, up here. So this and this is where I'm going to put my Q-snap next. And yeah, aside from the queen, every part has been worked on and just needed that little bit of extra thread. So, and there's that bit of extra fabric that I was talking about for the Just Nan. Perfect for a rope. The long skinny scissor roll. Okay, so I'll just put all of this stuff into the bag. That's Alice. My needle. Okay. The next project that I'm going to show you is something that I picked up because it got called for WhipGo. WhipGo is a Facebook group run by Jessie Marie from Jessie Marie Does Stuff, and it is a basically you pick your projects and you give them a goal and you make a bingo board, and she calls 2 numbers from that bingo board, and you try to work on that to get your goal. And this month the numbers that were called are for me, Cassiopeia by Mirabilia, And I do have a picture here. Wrong bag. Okay, I don't have a picture right here, right now, because that's a different project. So, this is Cassiopeia by Mirabilia. I started this for Maynia in 2021 because there are so many mirrors that I want to stitch. This is one of them. And I've stitched, my goal is 22 hours in the month it's called, and I've stitched 4 hours so far. Here's where it was when you last saw it. And here it is now. So I've been working over in this area here, filling in along the bottom and bringing it over, and I'm hoping to reach the corner. Move that over a little bit. And this fabric is 32 count Dawn, I believe, by Picture This Plus. So, yeah. So a lot of this color right here was filled in, brought the border along, and did some more of her dress. Yeah. It really does pop on this fabric. Some of it is a little bit, it does kind of blend into it, but I really like the way it's turning out, which is good because it's for me, so I better like it. And I don't want to, I have to put my working copy back on it because otherwise it's just going to get lost. There is so much chaos in this room right now. Okay. I just have one more project that I worked just a tiny bit on. This one right here is Sunflower Summer by Shepherd's Bush. These are not very good pictures. So this is a project that I've been working on my lunch hour at work, and there's really not a lot of progress. I only worked on it one day. I had to pull out what I did do and restart it, but I've been working on that row, that little tiny row of Lazy Daisy sunflowers. I just got the stems and leaves done. This is being stitched on 32 count linen that I dyed myself, using silks from my stash. Silks or over dyed. Over dyed. There's no silks. I think it calls for silks. I'm using over dyed conversion that I've come up with myself. Those are my colors. So it's not going to look exactly like the picture, but that's okay. So that's my week in stitches. Plans. So my plans are to organize this a little bit more, start tearing apart my kitchen. That's the whole reason I'm up here, is because I had to get all my stuff out of the living area down there so that we could unpack our kitchen into the living area and demolish the kitchen. So stitching wise, I should still get some done. I am actually today, I'm going to be working on my newish, it's a recent start. And this I started Mother's Day. Oh, that's not good. I'll have to do something about that. I started this on Mother's Day with Kim from Stitch and Stuff. This is the Dimensions Kit Vintage, Simplicity Vintage Counted Cross Stitch Kit. And here's where I am. And I'm stitching this on 28 count off-white Monaco that I had in my stash, because I just don't like Ada that came in the kit. So I'll be grabbing a Q-snap right away here and stitching that. I am using the threads from the kit. I just swapped out the fabric. And you'll also be seeing Poppy Girl. This was the other project called for Whitgo. Another kit that I restarted for Maynia. This one is being stitched on 32 count platinum. And that's where I am. And I also have to grid my Rose Quaker, so maybe I'll do that right away while I'm still up here. Rose Quaker by Stickadine von der Weyenberg. This one has been out for quite a while. I've loved it from day one, and I'm stitching it with overdyes from my stash. I started it with one strand over two, which is turning out really nice, but I'm concerned about the length of my fabric, so I want to get my center and edges marked out so that I know where it's gonna fit. So there's that one. So those are the three that I have planned. Of course, Beloved is going to get some love. Alice, I hope to get much more done on it. I'll get finishing those pieces in that one corner and then go on to the Queen of Hearts in the center, and then it's just that teapot and the footman. I still need to finish the footman. But yeah, it's getting done. Every stitch counts. So that's pretty much all of my plans and so on. I don't have any haul. Okay, so that's it for all the stitching. That's all that I've done and what I plan for the next week. I hope to be here again next week. Same time, same place. Hopefully this will be a little more organized. I had debated about doing a not exactly a progression video, but showing you a before and after. So I am going to film a before. Actually, I had debated not doing it before, just doing it after. But I am going to do it before, but the after isn't going to happen for months because we got stuff to do downstairs. So I'm going to just get settled in here, live with it the way it is, and then in a couple of months it will get renovated. I know people like the blue wallpaper, and I do like it too, but the you know what, I'll go through that with in the video after this. And I think that might go up as a separate video, or it might be at the end of this video. If you want to see it, it'll be there for you, and if you don't, well, you can end it and go on to the next thing, or you know, don't watch it if it's not your thing. So having said that, I think that I am going to end the Flosstube here, and yeah, so take care of yourself, take care of each other, don't be a jerk. Happy stitching. Bye. Okay, so the audio on this might be a little bit different than it is with my usual video because I am not using the microphone. I'm not sure if I will be able to switch views from this very quickly, but this is the video where I'm doing the before of the craft room. So this is the chair I was sitting in for my Flosstube video. And I will just basically, I'm going to turn the camera around and try to give you a tour of the craft room as it is right now. Okay, so there's the chair. Now I'm going to step back here. Remember, I have to watch out for the dog. Okay. So I'm going to try to get as far back as I can. So, there's the chair in the corner. And there's the stuff I just showed you. So from the corner, I'm standing where you would enter the room, right here. Here's the doorway. This is an older house, so one of the unusual things about this house is that all the doors in the bedrooms open from the wall side in, which, there's the dog. You wouldn't think to be an issue, but let's go here in the hallway. Now we're looking into the room. When you enter the room, you open the door. If there's furniture there, you have to get around the furniture. And if there's furniture behind the door can't open very wide. So, there it is. There's the mess. That is the craft room. So, that's the corner I was sitting in. There's a little stool there that I put there because Khaleesi wants to look out the window, but it's a small stool, so it's not very comfortable. That's the bookcase that I was talking about. The magazine holders up to about there are full of magazines, and these last 3 or 4 are patterns. This is eventually going to be mounted up on the wall, and there will be a desk underneath it. This is all of my stuff that I had to bring up from the living room. And a few other things that I pulled off of the bookshelf that need to be sorted. So there's the blue wallpaper that people have commented that they like. Problem is, well, number one, there's a tear there, and that was happening while we were renovating that wall. But now this wall underneath the angle has to be pulled apart, electrical done, and insulation done again, because it's not done very well. So yeah, not very efficient. That little table there was a vanity in my bathroom in the other house. I used that along with the stool that was over here for, you know, it had a mirror and stuff on it. So, and there's the stack of whips and kitted projects, and the bin of shame is actually right there. But yeah, and here's the camera stand and the ring light, which I don't really like using because it leaves a glare in the glasses, but otherwise it's too dark. My sewing machine, dog bed, antique sewing machine, little shelf, and my scissor collection. Well, some of the scissors of my collection. So this wall across from the window, that's where the door is, so you can't put any furniture there. So you can't, I have a big shelf that I thought about putting there, but it's might be a little awkward coming in that door. So this display might stay as it is. And that's a closet with, well, it's full of stuff. That's why this stuff is not in the closet. So I have to get into there and sort that out. So ideally, I would like to, I think I'm going to leave this sewing machine here. This is going to stay here because I can open the door and get around it. It's okay. I have a dresser downstairs that I'm using to store my cross-stitch fabric and stuff in. I was hoping to bring it up here and use it up here. And then I have an antique desk in the basement that belonged to my husband's grandmother that I'm hoping to put underneath this wall unit once it's modified and put up on the wall, because this is the only wall it can go on, and because of the slanted ceiling, my husband will have to modify that corner because there's not enough space with the window right here. So yeah. So I'm going to go around to the other side here and show you. And I tried to make the bookcase look pretty. I did, you know, reds and blues because I made those hats there for a birthday party, and yeah, wanted to display them, but I may have to do like something else, but we'll see. I made that doll, that's Emma. I have another doll named Anna that I made, but it's in a box on the floor here. Right there. Anna's in the box. But yeah. That's something I made from my grandma. My son made that when we moved into our other house. Curio cabinet that I had bought and was thinking about putting things like biscornues in. Yeah, we'll see. A clear rotating organizer, which I was hoping would come in useful, but it's been in here for a year and I haven't touched it. So there it sits with a couple of biscornues that have been gifted to me. And we'll see what becomes of all of this stuff. So, let's see. That is the craft room as it is right now. So, this is probably not going to change all that much in the next month or so. There might be more organizing and boxes piled up out of the way, but this is pretty much how I see it. But that's okay. So, yeah. Until, well, honestly, next week will be another Flosstube, but if you're just here for the craft room tour, that probably won't happen again for another 2 or 3 months. So, until then, bye.